Мгм. Мгм. Мгм.
It's December 14, Ukraine Media Center, Ukrinform continues its operation. My name is Svetlana Cheparenko. Now we will be talking about the results of year 2023 in the area of nuclear safety in Ukraine. Joining us in our studio is Oleh Korikov, Acting Chairman, Chief State Inspector for Nuclear and Radiation Safety of Ukraine. Good afternoon, Mr. Oleh. Good afternoon. Glory to the heroes. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes, I'm sorry. So, Mr. Oleh, what are the results of this year's work in the area of nuclear and radiation safety? Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to remind you that today is the day of the liquidator of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster. 37 years ago, on this day, the confinement object was commissioned, which is unofficially called the sarcophagus, built above the fourth reactor of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. And today we honor the memory of all those who was taking part in design and construction of the sarcophagus and all those who participated in mitigation of aftermath of the catastrophe in Chernobyl nuclear power plant. So in year 2023 we have some achievements, and I would like to start with our positive results. Ukraine was elected to the managing body of IAEA. It means that Ukraine was recognized as a country with developed nuclear energy grid. Ukraine's candidacy was supported by 79 countries, and we are about to acquire the membership in the management board within 2 years. After that, we will be able to influence the policies of IAEA and the policies in the area of nuclear power. Ukraine will reinforce its influence in the international track in everything that is traditionally related to nuclear and radiation safety. We've extended the operation of the first reactor of this Pivdena nuclear power plant. We've got another license for 10 years for long-term operation. Within the next 10 years, the reevaluation of the safety conditions will be going on, and colleagues from the operating organization has taken a lot of effort, and us as the regulating authority in the area of radiation and nuclear safety, we've reviewed that decision, and we've taken the decision that it's safe to operate the reactor 1 of the Pivdena nuclear power plant, which resulted in extension of the license for operation of the first block until the 2nd of December year 2033. This is how we continue the operation of the reactors of the nuclear power plant. We've also created an opportunity in the context of post-war recovery. As we know, Ukraine sees the post-war recovery with account of new construction, the construction of new nuclear reactors, new nuclear power plants with traditional large-scale nuclear reactors as well as small module reactors. But it just happens so that the regulatory documents contemplate that the suppliers, they initiate the interaction with the regulating authorities on the stage when all the preparatory documents are ready for construction of the nuclear power plant. Now we enabled the future construction operators or the operating organizations to get feedback from the regulatory authorities on the earlier stages of design and construction with regard to technological solutions and approaches which are about to be implemented according to the technical documentation and their compliance with the regulations in the area of nuclear and radiation safety of Ukraine. It's an important approach because this document is the requirements to pre-license evaluation that are in effect currently, they will be adopted on a new basis so that the operating organization can work out their technical solutions on earlier stages in coordination with the regulatory authorities. We've taken the approach that is already implemented in Canada, Great Britain and United States, and basically we've built the foundation from the point of view of regulation of nuclear and radiation safety. We've laid the foundation for post-war recovery in this area as well. Then, within the year 2023 in Ukraine, we started the research or operation of the new nuclear facility, the storage of the nuclear fuel waste in Chernobyl, in the area of Chernobyl power plant. A permit for commissioning of this facility was provided by the regulatory authority back in year 22, and in year 23 the operating organization has already developed the routes along which the nuclear waste will be delivered from other nuclear power plants to this centralized storage, and for the time being there are 13 containers with the nuclear fuel waste which are stored in the storage facility in Chernobyl zone. It actually destroys the monopoly of Russia that used to be the only place where the facilities for storage of such type of recycled fuel was available. will we ensure the double barrier package during transportation and storage, and it results in economic benefits because first of all the operating organization operates the facility in which we invested our own funds, and on top of that we don't have to pay the enemy for storage of recycled nuclear fuel. Then we've also started the movement towards the implementation of the project of alternative nuclear fuel. As we know, there are already 7 reactors VVR 1000 that are already working on alternative fuel manufactured by Westinghouse, a friendly company as we call them, a friendly manufacturer. And this year we already have certain progress in the renegation of monopoly of Russian Federation in terms of supply of nuclear fuel to the reactors which were designed back in Soviet era. VVR 440. We started pre-operation study of American nuclear fuel in the reactor 440 in Rivne nuclear power plant. In October, the operating organization has loaded the first batch to the active zone of the reactor of Rivne nuclear power plant, and now we're operating on that fuel. It's very important not only for Ukraine but also because currently the countries of European Union operate 19 reactors that were designed according to Soviet standard, and Ukraine is a signal and an instance for our European partners how they can get rid of the unreliable supplier of nuclear fuel without threats to their nuclear and radiation safety and energy security of those countries. That's, in my opinion, an achievement that is worth emphasizing. On top of that, we have monitoring missions of IAEA that operate not only in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant but also in other nuclear power plants, including Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Well, upon the invitation of Ukraine, in January 2023, we've initiated the permanent presence of IAEA representatives in all nuclear power plants of Ukraine. The main task of theirs is monitoring of condition of nuclear and radiation safety of active reactors and a Chernobyl exclusion zone. And on top of monitoring, they also analyze the impacts of war on the condition of safety of the nuclear reactors, as well as preparation of suggestions regarding the technical help for our licensees for nuclear power plants and other nuclear facilities, nuclear energy facilities, with regard to specific goods and services, in particular the aid that is coming under bilateral agreements or mechanisms implemented by IAEA within the framework of response and emergency network. So those are the main good news, the main of our achievements. However, we still have Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant currently occupied by Russian invaders, and the condition of nuclear and radiation safety in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant continues degrading, unfortunately. Currently, among the risks that we monitor are when the risks of incompetency of personnel that in fact operates the nuclear reactors, illegal management makes relevant orders to the personnel who doesn't have relevant skills and experience to exercise proper operation of nuclear power plant, which was described in reports of IAEA, which were published on their behalf. Also, the destruction of Kakhovka Dam is a threat for the operation of nuclear power plant in terms of safety, in terms of dissemination of thermal energy, which is accumulating there because it continues being produced by the nuclear fuel, and the presence of the cooling facilities is the necessary requirement for operation of nuclear power plant. However, the water reservoir was destroyed by the invaders. The level of militarization of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant continues growing. The technological premises are being used as shelters and storage facilities for ammunition, explosives, and military material. Even in case of IAEA, the occupiers restrict their access to certain areas, so the representatives of IAEA could report on the presence, on the amounts of that ammunition and explosives present in the nuclear power plant. We know, we have information that currently the artillery, the Russian MLRS, as well as other material, is located in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and they launch strikes from the area of nuclear power plant and the adjacent areas. This is how they ensure themselves against the response of our artillery, which would be quite hazardous. So their actions have nothing to do with the nuclear and radiation safety, and we would like to emphasize it once again. Also, the automatic system which convey the data to IAEA is not present anymore there. It's the violation of normatives of IAEA, and in case of any emergency we wouldn't be able to respond promptly to this challenge because nobody in the world has any information about any such indicators. Also, there is no stable electric power supply to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. In the mode of normal operation, NPP generates electric energy and consumes some part of it to sustain the operation of its mechanisms and machinery. Currently, Zaporizhzhia NPP has all of the reactors suspended, and it gets electric power from Ukrainian grid through aerial line. There is only one line remaining through which Zaporizhzhia NPP gets the supply of electric power. There was another line connected, but as a result of shellings by the occupiers, that aerial line was destroyed, and there is no possibility to renew it, to reestablish power supply due to incessant shellings. And currently the feeding is going along the 750 kilovolt lines, which are unstable, and it's a very fragile mode of operation, as Mr. Rafael Mariano Grossi called it. So it's fragile and unstable, and this situation is of threat to all of the world, and as a result of irresponsible and non-competent activities of personnel operating the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in 2023, the destruction of the barrier happened twice on the way of radioactivity to the environment. There were 2 cases of potentially radioactive water from first counter to the second counter. All those facts are supposed to be investigated, and we have to continue saying about those facts as the ones that have nothing to do with or nothing in common with radiation and nuclear safety. Also, what's worth mentioning that the representatives of IAEA are not allowed to the physical protection facilities of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and so basically from all sides we have restricted supply of information to IAEA, and again which results in lack of nuclear and radiation safety, and the only option to bring back the safety is the full demilitarization, deoccupation, and return of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant under operation of responsible and competent operator and under the control of the regulatory authority on nuclear and radiation safety of Ukraine. Well, talking about the next year, what will be the key challenges Ukraine will face in the next year in area of the nuclear and radiation safety? Well, the key challenge is the safety of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. We have to take all the reasonable effort to bring it back. On our end, we work in coordination with our foreign partners. As an operating or the operating organization has prepared and we've approved the plan of safe reestablishment of operations in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and as soon as Ukraine takes control over the nuclear reactors in Zaporizhzhia NPP, we're going to be able right away to bring it into safe operational conditions. On top of that, we are supposed to ensure the safe development of the project of alternative nuclear fuel. We have other reactors that are supposed to be switched to alternative nuclear fuel. Also, we have to ensure the safe operation of centralized storage of the recycled nuclear fuel. It's a test operation that should be proceeding to normal operation mode. So those are the processes that we are about to implement in Ukraine. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions on the floor? Oksana Polishuk, Ukrinform. In view of the extension of operation term in Pivdeno-Ukrainska NPP, do we expect any such extensions for other reactors in other nuclear power plants? Yes, we are currently working on that. We are into time interval when our reactors have worked their initial term of 30 years, and the first ones that were commissioned in 1982 in Pivdeno-Ukrainska nuclear power plant, that was the first one. It worked another additional 10 years. In the beginning of year 2025, it will be the second reactor of Pivdeno-Ukrainska nuclear power plant, and it will continue with a series of other reactors, including the reactors of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. It will require the reevaluation of safety conditions, recommissioning, and it's a huge question how we are going to do it under conditions of occupation. This is why we have to solve this problem as soon as possible to be able to implement all the necessary measures in compliance with the Ukrainian legislation and our international obligations. So how many blocks fall under this program? We view all of the reactors without exclusion. It's 15 of them, 2 of them are 440 model, and 13 others are VVR 1000 model. And another question, you were talking about the test operation of the storage of recycled fuel. When are you going to start the normal operation, the industrial operation? And what is the volume of waste fuel that can be stored in that facility? Well, currently we don't see any restrictions in terms of operations. There are no restrictions in terms of volume of recycled nuclear fuel that can be transported and stored in the facility. On the other hand, we've mentioned that the effective term of permit is 3 years before the recycled fuel is brought to the storage ground. And probably up to 3 years it will be the period that should be sufficient for the operating organization to develop all the elements of the technology that is supposed to be done on the stage of test operations, and to prepare relevant safety analysis to submit the application to initiate the industrial operation of the facility. So if this year there were 13 containers loaded, so next year what is the number of containers that we expect to be loaded there? Well, I would rather abstain from the answer because it's a sensitive information. You know, it's a transportation of nuclear materials. Thank you for your understanding. Mr. Oleh, thank you very much for informing us on the results of the year. Let me remind you, joining us was Oleh Korikov, Acting Chairman, Chief State Inspector for Nuclear and Radiation Safety. We're putting together the schedule for tomorrow, so stay tuned. Thank you.
В Європі, які працюють по цілій радянській ще технології.
Ні, вони самі собі влаштували можливості.